Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my first ever Q&A video. Now I did tell you guys a little while ago that I was planning on doing this Q&A video, and I asked you guys to send me all of your questions through, and yeah, so I just kind of gathered all of these questions together and I'm going to answer them for you in this video. So I thought it'd be quite a good video to do because a lot of these questions are makeup related. They're also related to like my background and my lighting, my camera, like that's kind of set up. So I thought it would be quite good if you guys are interested in learning more about that and about like makeup and that type of thing. So yeah, so they're always really good to watch these Q&A videos, and I just love answering your guys' questions. I feel like we're getting like a really good relationship going now, which is really good. I feel like you guys are like my friends, and yeah, it just feels so nice and comfortable just to sit in front of camera and chat to you guys. So I want this video to be really like informal. Just want it to be kind of like, yeah, kind of like I'm just sitting here talking to you guys as my friends. So I did put all of the questions on my phone just so I can go through them a little bit easier. So the first question is from Stacey PA, and she said, your eyeshadow looks amazing, thank you. And she said, what primer do you use? So I'm assuming she means eye primers. So my favourite eyeshadow primer to use is the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. I feel like I use that the most just because I tend to wear quite a lot of eyeshadow, and I always like to use that before I do any dramatic looks, because 9 times out of 10 I will always do my eyes before my foundation. That way you're never going to get the sort of mess on your foundation that you need to clear up afterwards. It just makes a lot more cleaner application. So I always like to go in with a MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. That kind of like counteracts any redness and discoloration on my eyes. So it also helps prime my eyes so the eyeshadow sticks a lot better as well. So I always like to use that, which is probably like my number one. But the two other eyeshadow primers that I really like is the Too Faced Shadow Insurance. I actually like to use this for sticking glitter to. I think this works really well. So if you guys have got like glitter or like heavy pigments and stuff you want sticking to the eye, I think this works really good. And another one that I really like is a Smashbox Photo Finish Lid Primer. This comes in like a doe foot applicator, and it's just really easy to use, and it does have a little bit of coverage in there as well, which is good. So that way again it's going to counteract like discoloration and redness. So yeah, those two I love if I'm not using the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. So the next question is from Frisky Divas. So she said, which is better formula wise, MAC or Makeup Geek eyeshadows? I'm torn between the two. So personally, I would say Makeup Geek eyeshadows, and the reason why I say that is because I tend to use them the most. I use them every single day regardless of what eyeshadow look I'm doing. Even if I'm using eyeshadows from another palette, I will always use my Makeup Geek eyeshadows because I feel like some of them I just cannot live without. And you guys probably know, but I use this palette. I have got a few of these, of all my Makeup Geek eyeshadows. If you guys haven't seen that video that I've done on all of my Makeup Geek eyeshadow collection, then I'll leave the link right here if you want to go and check it out. These are just amazingly pigmented. They're really creamy, they blend out beautifully, and I love the fact that you can customize your own palettes. And it's similar, I suppose, to what MAC does, but the only thing with MAC is that it's really expensive to buy their palettes that you can put the eyeshadows in. Plus I think their eyeshadows are £11 a piece, and Makeup Geek is only £4 to £5 a piece. So there's a massive difference with the price point. But yeah, I just always tend to gravitate to these the most, and this palette I mainly made up of kind of like all my neutrals. I have like a lot of warms in there as well, and yeah, it's just like a palette that I use every single day. So for example, like Peach Smoothie is my ultimate transitional shade. I absolutely love Creme Brulee. Cocoa Bear is beautiful as well, and yeah, there's just so many lovely colours in here. And I love the fact that I've got a black down here as well, because you can smoke out an eyeliner and do a lot of different things with it. So yeah, I would have to say a Makeup Geek over MAC. I do really like the MAC formulas, but I find that the Makeup Geek hold a lot better and they blend out a lot better as well. And I think again, for the price point, I would always rather choose Makeup Geek because you end up getting a lot more for your money, and yeah, they're just easier to customise in those palettes as well. So next question is from Gypsy Girl, and she said, can you tell us all about your veneers? So I mentioned a little while ago, I can't actually remember what video it was, that I've actually got veneers the whole way across my front row of my teeth. And the reason for that is because when I was about 17, 18, I had a bit of an accident, and I was in a nightclub and I was drinking out of one of those WKD glass bottles, and I just took a swig, and I was on the dance floor dancing, and this guy was behind me and accidentally elbowed the bottom of the glass, and it went through my mouth basically, and luckily I didn't have any stitches, but what it did do was knock my front tooth out. And I remember that night I was like completely horrified terrified, and I remember going home and telling my mum, and my mum was like gasping, she couldn't believe what I'd done, and yeah, it just looked absolutely terrible. So I went to the dentist and he built it up with temporary filling at the time, and he said to me that I will need to get a veneer or a crown, but just think about it in a year or two, just see how this settles first, which I did, but I left that for a very, very long time, and what happened is the gum started to go black, and I thought I need to get this done now. So I went back to the dentist and I discussed like different options, and we were talking about crowns, but the thing is with crowns, I think if you have one, it's always going to like stick out a little bit. So he did say the same with a veneer as well. You can't just have one veneer, you end up having to have the whole lot done for it to all kind of like tie in together. So I ended up having 8 veneers on the whole top row of my teeth. And the funny thing is, my teeth have always been really straight, and I've never suffered with wonky teeth, and yeah, it just kind of like was a bit irritating, I suppose, that I needed to get it done. But I do actually really like them. When I first got them done, there was a massive shock because I was so not used to them, and they were a lot bigger than they were before. And I did go back a couple of times and have them like taken down, and I also had them built up at the sides, and yeah, I just feel like they fit my mouth a lot better now, and yeah, I just really, really like them. So I remember like when I did have these veneers put in, they put in like temporary veneers at first, and I didn't realise, but I had like a really bad problem with grinding my teeth in like while I was sleeping, and obviously you don't know you're doing that. When the dentist was taking x-rays, he kind of said to me, you can tell that you're grinding your teeth, and we need to like give you some sort of mouth guard that you can use with the veneer so you don't end up grinding the veneers off. So I ended up wearing a mouth guard for about 2 years afterwards, and I think I haven't been using that for about a year now, so I've obviously trained myself not to grind my teeth, which is good. But yeah, I just feel so much more happy with my teeth, and just a general a lot more confident, and yeah, it just kind of like was a massive thing for me because I just didn't want a black tooth, and yeah, I'm just really pleased that I got them done in the end. So the next question is from Kelly and Megan, and she said, you are so beautiful and your makeup always looks flawless. I look forward to watching your videos, thank you. I was wondering if you have problems with under eye creasing, and if you have any tips or holy grail products that you would recommend. So I get asked this question so much, and I get asked this question through all my clients as well. I get so many people say to me, my concealer creases, like how can I stop it from creasing? And the number one question I ask everyone is, do you powder properly? And everyone's like, not really, I don't really use any powder. I'm like, well, concealer is 100% going to crease up if you don't use powder. You need to use some sort of powder to set that concealer into place. But if you're really prone for your concealer to crease, I would definitely recommend the baking technique. Ever since I've done that, I've noticed a huge difference. My concealer stays on all day long. Like I could literally rub underneath my eyes now and nothing would come off. It just completely sets it into place. But I understand that a lot of people don't like to use that technique because they find that the under eyes tend to look a little bit drier and sometimes can settle into the fine lines a little bit more. But if you do have that problem, the best thing to use is a damp beauty sponge, and use that loose set powder, but kind of press it onto the eye, but not actually use a heavy dusting of it. So kind of press it on with that damp beauty blender, and that way it's going to kind of set that concealer into place, but give a lot more hydration to it as well. So it's not going to settle into the fine lines and make it look really cakey. So I would definitely recommend that if you have more drier skin underneath your eyes. If you don't and you're quite normal, I would definitely recommend the heavier kind of like baking technique. I really think that is fantastic. But if you're not into either of them, then you could always try maybe an eye primer. I really like the Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector. I think that's amazing, and I've actually noticed a massive difference with how my concealer sits on it as well. So that could be quite a good thing if you didn't want to use as much powder. But I would highly recommend whatever method that you do, you always set it with some sort of powder. So in terms of like holy grail products that I like, my holy grail concealer I think would have to be the MAC Pro Longwear. I find that is the most full coverage and it has the most staying power. Again, I love the Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector. I think that's really good at counteracting like any darkness underneath the eyes, and I also find the concealer sits a lot better on it. Also, I love the Laura Mercier translucent powder, but if you didn't want to spend the money, a good cheap alternative is the Collection 2000 Sheer Loose powder. That is really good as well. But if you didn't want to use a loose powder, any kind of pressed powder would be fine. I love the MAC Studio Fix. I actually have it right here because I've been powdering my nose, and I love the Urban Decay pressed powder as well. I think that's really nice as well. So the next question is from Rosie Bess, and she said, what is your go-to nude lip? So this changes for me all the time because I always find like my perfect nude and I end up wearing that to death. But at the moment I would have to say the MAC matte lipstick in the colour Honey Love. I've actually got it right here. This is like my perfect ultimate nude. These formulations are really good. They have like loads of staying power and they don't feel too dry on the lips, and they just have a really nice creamy formula. And then I like to top it off with this Gerard Cosmetics lipstick in the colour Buttercup, which is more on the pink side, but topped with the Honey Love, it just gives the most perfect nude. I absolutely love them two together, and yeah, I just always tend to gravitate to them the most. And whenever I'm just flying out the door, I always take them in my handbag, so you always see me putting on them. I'm just absolutely obsessed with those two colours together. And for lip liner, I love to use the MAC lip liner in the colour Subculture. This again is just like a really simple, great nude. What I really like about these lip liners, which might seem a little bit crazy for you guys, is they're not super pigmented. So I don't really like it when you use a really pigmented lip liner, because that way it just looks so unnatural. I tend to like using one that's not as pigmented but kind of like outlines it slightly and gives a subtle definition. So yeah, I always gravitate to this one the most, and these three together are just like my ultimate nude lip combo. So the next question is from Essie Glam, and she said, do you have any primer recommendations for oily skin? Yes, I do. I absolutely love the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. I think that's really good for oily skin. The NYX Angel Veil is a really good cheap alternative. I find that is really good at mattifying. And the next one I would say is the NARS Pro Prime Oil Free Primer, I think it's called. I will leave it linked down below if you guys want to go and check it out. But that I think is absolutely amazing for oily skin, and it's kind of like an antiseptic formula almost. Like when you put it on the skin, it just smells really fresh and clean, and it just completely sinks into the skin. And yeah, because it's oil free, you're not going to have that sort of excess oil on your skin, and yeah, it actually works really well at controlling excess oil. So I would highly recommend that one, the Smashbox Photo Finish and the NYX Angel Veil. So the next question is from Marileni Pina, and she said, where do you get your backdrops from? So I have a local fabric store to me that I always go to, and I always buy like loads of different variations of fabrics, and I just use them as my backdrop. So today I've actually got like a crushed velvet, and it's like a baby pink colour, but I've also got it in white, I've got it in black, I've got it in like an autumn berry colour, which is beautiful. I love to use like satin as well. I think satin looks really nice and a nice sort of sheen in the background, especially when it's lit up. It just looks really pretty. So I've got them in a couple of like different colours. Like I think I have like a really dark purple and like a fuchsia pink. But I also do have that glittery silvery backdrop that you might have seen me in some of my videos, which I really like. Although my nan actually picked that up for me, so I don't actually know where she got it from. But I know you guys can get it from quite cheap, like on Amazon and things like that. I wouldn't recommend on going anywhere like Etsy and getting like the proper backdrops, because I think they tend to be really expensive, and you can get the exact same effect with a lot cheaper products. So I would highly recommend going on like Amazon and just sort of like doing a little bit of research before you buy them, because I know those sequined fabrics tend to be really expensive. But yeah, I just think it's like a really cool way of like playing around with your videos, and like depending on how you want your video to look, you can really sort of like make a really dramatic impact with a really decent backdrop. So for example, like my Halloween tutorials, I love to use like black backdrops or like that dark berry colour. I think looks really cool. And like when I'm doing like videos like this, I like to use like a light background, like a baby pink or a white. And yeah, just depends on like different videos and doing different makeup looks, you can just always like kind of like switch up the backdrops to make them look really effective. So the next question is from Katerina Kostazoo. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And she said, I have dry skin and I adore the Hangover Primer. She loves the Chocolate Soleil. For foundation, she uses the Lancome Tint Miracle, and she loves that. But what other foundation other than the Luminous Silk would you recommend for dry skin? Now, dry skin, I would 100% recommend obviously the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk. I think that is amazing. If you wanted a cheaper alternative, Bourjois actually do a foundation that I love for dry skin, and I use that on more mature clients and people that have a lot more dry skin, and it just sits absolutely beautifully. It doesn't cake up on the skin, and yeah, it just really gives a nice sort of dewy look. So I would highly recommend the Bourjois one, although I can't actually remember the name off the top of my head, but I'll leave it linked here if you're interested. And yeah, I absolutely love the Bobbi Brown Stick Foundation. I use that on pretty much all of my clients. I just think it's got such a nice coverage and an application to it, and yeah, it's good for like all skin types, especially dry, because it is a cream based formula. And that is another thing with dry skin or even mature skin, you always want to stick to a cream based foundation. Anything cream is going to be hydrating and it's going to be a lot more nourishing on dry skin. You want to sort of stay away from powder foundations because that is going to really cling to dry patches on your skin. So yeah, the Bourjois one I would highly recommend if you're on a budget. So, and the Bobbi Brown stick foundation I think is really good at like creating a nice flawless canvas, and it does have a lot of longevity. And the other thing that I absolutely love with that foundation is that it doesn't contain any SPF in it, so you won't get any sort of flashbacks when you're like having flash photography taken, and yeah, it just sits really beautifully on the skin. So I would highly recommend that for dry skin as well. So the next question is from MS Mary, and she said, are you a professional makeup artist? As in, are you trained? You are really exceptional. Wish you heaps of success. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I am a professional makeup artist. I have been now for about 3 years. When I first left school, I never really knew what I wanted to do, but I was always very arty and very creative, and I always liked drawing and painting, and I actually went to art college for a little while, but after a while I just really wanted to get out and work, and again I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I ended up getting this really good job in London, and yeah, it just kind of like went from there really. So I started off as an administrator, I went into project management for a while, and it was a bit random, and then I went on to become a PA, and I was PA for about 7 years I think before I actually left the city. So I actually had a blast when I worked in London. I really do miss it because I miss the social life. I have made really good friends that I'm still in contact with now, but there was just something burning away inside of me that I really wanted to do makeup, and I thought if I don't do it now I never will, and I just had to take that plunge. I've actually done a part-time makeup course in London, which was about 19 weeks in total, so I done it every Saturday, and then I went on and done a TV, media, and I think it was theatre makeup. That was for about 8 weeks, and that was every Saturday and Sunday. So I was working all week as a PA and then going to college at the weekend. So it was actually really hard graft for a while, but it was so worth it in the end, because when I qualified I was so happy to finally get out and start working. So when I qualified I was working 2 jobs. So I was still working full-time as a PA, and I was just building up my makeup career, and then it kind of got to a point where it was kind of like I really need to leave my job so I can give my makeup career a massive go, and it was the best decision that I ever made in my life. So it really pushed me into making a career for myself, and I just had some amazing opportunities to work on film and TV and like different photo shoots and that type of thing. Yeah, it's just such an amazing career to work in, and yeah, if you really want to become a makeup artist, I wouldn't hesitate. Just go and do a lot of research in your local colleges, see what makeup courses they have. I actually done the iTech makeup course, which is actually a professional qualification, and again I went on to do like a TV, media and film and theatrical makeup course. But you guys can sort of like do a little bit of research if you really wanted to become a makeup artist. There's loads of different courses out there, and yeah, I just think that if you really want to do it, then go for it, because you'll only kick yourself in the long run for not doing it. And YouTube as well has become a lot more than I actually expected it to, and I absolutely love doing YouTube. I just love being in front of the camera, and I never ever thought I would say that, but I just feel like I'm talking to my friends. And yeah, when I do like a makeup tutorial I get so many lovely comments from you guys, and it really does make me happy. So yeah, it's just been absolutely amazing, and yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world. So the next question is from Claire C. She says, what do you use on your brows? I love using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz. I think that's amazing, and I love using, oh, I've got it right here, how convenient. I've got the Barry M Brow Kit Shape and Define. I love using the powder out of this. I think that's really good. I love using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Clear Brow Gel. I think that one's amazing. Also there's a tinted one from Model Co, which I really like. Funny enough, today I just tried for the first time the NYX Brow Definer, which is absolutely amazing. It's what I've used on my brows today, and I don't know whether I prefer it as much as the Anastasia Beverly Hills, but it's such a good dupe if you wanted a cheap alternative. So yeah, they're like my holy grail products for eyebrows. So the next question is from Jennifer Renee, and she actually Snapchatted me a while ago asking about all of my camera equipment and my lights and what I use to like do all these videos basically. So the camera that I use to shoot videos from is the Canon 70D. It is such an incredible camera. I know it's really expensive, but if you guys are really considering doing YouTube like long term, I would highly suggest that camera. And the reason why I love it is because it has really good autofocus capabilities, and yeah, it's just one of the most amazing cameras I've ever used. I've actually got a new lens that I'm using at the moment. This one is a Sigma, I think it's the, I'm going to check actually. So yeah, it's a Sigma 18 to 35mm lens. I love this lens because it creates a really sharp focus on me and like a blurry background, which I love. And yeah, it was quite expensive, I'm not gonna lie, but it was well worth the investment because the quality of the videos are so much better than they were before. Before I was using a Canon lens, I think it was a 50mm. I actually got that quite cheap off of Amazon, and I really liked using that. It gives a really nice blurry background, but sometimes the autofocus on it was really bad, and I hate the fact that you could hear the clicking, like it clicked really loudly when it was focusing on me, and that was kind of off-putting, I suppose. So I just upgraded to that recently, and I'm so pleased because I absolutely love this lens. So I do also have, so I'm actually looking at my camera while I'm doing this to try and explain what I've got for you guys, but the actual sound mic that I use is just a normal Rode mic. I think that was about £30 off Amazon. I'm not very happy with it. Sometimes I think it sounds great, other times there's like really bad muffling sounds on it, and I'm not actually sure why. I've tried so many different settings to try and sort it out, but I know it's not a great sound mic. So yeah, I'm kind of like looking into different alternatives, but yeah, I need to kind of like save my money up first. So as for lighting, I use a Diva ring light. I've had this and I bought it off of Amazon, I think. It's just a 75 watt Wallamex Diva ring light, I think it's called. So it's one of those halo ones that goes completely around your face. And then I have two studio box lights that I bought off of Amazon. I think they were like 50 quid. I'll try and leave all the links down below, so if you guys want to go and check it out, but they were really cheap. And I would highly recommend that if you guys are just starting up, you don't have to get the ring light straight away. You can always just use these soft boxes. I did when I first started. I remember using an old Nikon camera for my first few videos, and yeah, because I really didn't know whether or not I was going to take to YouTube and if I was going to like being in front of the camera. And yeah, it just kind of like, I didn't really want to splurge all that money if I wasn't really 100% dedicated to it. So I just used this like Nikon camera, and the worst thing about that camera as well is that it didn't have the flip screen. So I would have to set it on record, run round, do half an hour of filming, and then run back round to make sure it was still recording. Sometimes it wasn't recording and I just wasted so much time applying that makeup, and I'd have to go back and do it again. It just honestly was just such a palaver to use that camera. So yeah, I would highly recommend that whatever camera you do use one that has a flip screen, because that way you can see yourself in it and you can see if you're in focus. So another thing that I love about the Canon camera as well is that you have the EOS utility package, so you can actually clip your camera into your laptop, which is what I've got right now, and it actually shows yourself in view. So I'll actually show you my laptop so I can show you what I'm talking about rather than just telling you. So yeah, so you can see me right here, and yeah, it just looks a bit weird now. But I absolutely love the fact that you can see yourself and you can like see if you're in focus and things like that. And you can also play around with the settings as well, like without like having to go around and manually input it into the camera. You can do it all via the laptop. So it's just so easy and convenient. And as I've said before, I wouldn't say if you're just starting out YouTube to go and splurge all of this money, because I don't think it's necessarily worth it, especially if it's something that you know if you're not 100% dedicated to. So at first you can always just use your iPhone to shoot. iPhones have got really good video quality nowadays, so you can always use that as your first video. And also natural lighting. I know a lot of people say it, but it's very true. Natural lighting is the best. So if you're going to do any makeup tutorials or anything like that, I would highly recommend being in front of a window so you don't have any shadows on your face, and make sure that you've got a light at every angle coming in at you, and that way it's just going to sort of light up your face and make your videos look a lot better quality. So guys, that is the end of this video. I really hope that you enjoyed watching this Q&A. So if you guys have got any more questions, don't forget to leave it in the comments box, because I always go and check out your comments and reply to you guys. So again, I really hope that you enjoyed watching this, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye!